Yes, good evening, everybody. Well, welcome to class again. So we started a discussion on activity-based costing in our first class. So we solved an example. I also forwarded an assignment in which quite a number of persons have attempted, and the outcome is a good one. Yes, I discovered that most people even went extra miles to solve quite a number of questions. Yes. Even the question we're going to solve now, some persons have already solved it. Yes. So that is the spirit of excellence. So we started a discussion on activity-based costing by saying that activity-based costing is a costing technique that allocates overhead cost to products and services based on the activities that cause those costs, rather than using a single volume-based measure, such as labor hours or machine hours. So in that class, we looked at issues of activities. What are various forms of activities that can occur? Activities can be in form of machine setup, inspection, and the rest of it. We also talk about cost pools, that is collection of costs related to a specific activity. Now, in solving activity-based costing, you must be able to match the cost driver with the activity. And that is one way the examiner can use to hook you. By the time you are looking at the, the cost element and you are also looking at the cost driver, you must be able to know what is happening. The cost driver is very key in relation to the action. In relation to the action. So cost drivers, these are factors that cause cost to be incurred. For example, number of setups and the rest. And we have cost objects. These are products or services being costed. So these are some of the things we talked about in activity-based costing. And we talked about identifying most overhead costs to activity cost pools and select appropriate cost drivers for each activity, and also compute cost driver rates. These are very important. Yes, we solve a question involving traditional, using traditional approach and also using the ABC approach. So without much delay, we are going to see how we can solve this question. I'm coming up with this topic because I'm very, very sure that to be tested this diet, this question has been tested. It was tested in November 2017. Again, it was tested in November 2024. And activity-based costing question was tested in May 2025. It was tested in November 2022. And hopefully this May 2026, it should be tested again. It was not tested in November 2025, so it should come again, this diet. So the onus is on you to solve all the whole question on activity-based costing in the Pathfinder, in the past question. All the activity-based costing question in the Pathfinder. That is the assignment. You need to solve it. Yes. And one thing I will beg you is that once you know you don't know it, please speak out. Yes. Don't, the essence of this class is for you to pass. Yes. I don't want to see anybody again in this class next diet. Yes. So and next diet, I don't want to see you in this class. So the for you not to be in this class is for you to be sincere with yourself. Once you don't understand, yes, voice out. Yes, in case you're a kind of shy person like me that don't want to voice out in the open on this platform, just reach out to me in the secret, and then I'll give you audience. Yes, some of us we don't like to talk in the public. We just like to follow, but just be sincere to yourself. Once you know something is not clear to you, it's not clear, just open up. Even if I'm busy, I will schedule a time for you that will explain to you. So that is the essence of this class. And that is why some of you have reached out to me. Yes. So let's make sure we achieve the essence of this class, the purpose of this class. So without delay, can somebody read this question?
Can I read?
Yes.
Okay, sir. XYZ Nigeria Limited is considering the use of activity-based costing ABC approach in its overhead recovery. The company manufactures two products known as Standard and Deluxe. Details of production for the two products are given below. Standard, Deluxe, annual production in units 24,000, 24,000. Direct labor time per unit in hours, number of special parts per unit, number of setup per batch, number of sales invoices issued per year, number of separate materials issued per batch, batch size units. The analysis of the overhead costs provided the following information. Number one, setup costs. We have 585,600 number of setup. We have number two, special parts handling cost 480,000. Customer invoicing cost 232,000. Material handling cost 504,000. Other overheads 864,000. Total 2,665,600. Required. Use the traditional approach to determine the direct labor hourly rate for the company. B. Use the direct labor hour rate to compute the overhead rate attributable to a unit of standard and deluxe products. C. Determine the cost driver rate using the ABC approach. D. Compute the overhead rate per unit of each product using the ABC approach.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So we're going to analyze this question before going to the solution page. It's very important you learn how to analyze questions so that when you see it, you won't be frightened, no matter the tension that is within that premises, the hall, if you be able to do something. Sometimes some of us are rewriting, it's not because you don't know it, but because of certain other factors. Yes, so that is one thing, but there is a way you will learn that no matter the situation, at least you should be able to write something. So this is a question on activity-based costing. Question XYZ Nigeria Limited. We have two products, Standard and Deluxe. Now, the total unit produced, annual production for Standard is what? 24,000 units. But Deluxe is what? Also 24,000 units. Direct labor time per unit in hours. It means for you to produce 1 unit of Standard, how many hours do you need? 4 hours. For you to produce 1 unit of Deluxe, how many hours do you need? You need 5 hours. Now, number of special parts per unit. It means that for you to produce Standard, how many special parts do you need to produce 1 unit of Standard? you need two, two special parts. For the loss, you need how many special parts? 8 special parts. It means anything you see in unit is related to the total units produced for each product. Also, number of setup per batch. Number of setup per batch. It means for one batch, how many setup do you need? For standard, you need 2 setup. For one batch under the loss, how many setup do you need? For one batch under the loss, you need what? 6 setup. 6 setup. Also, number of sales invoices issued per year. That is overall. For standard, the number of invoices issued sum up to what? 100 invoices. For the loss, it's 480 invoices. So number of separate materials issued per batch is 2 for standard and 2 for the loss. So batch size in units. What is the interpretation of this statement? Batch size in unit. It means one batch for standard contains how many units? One batch for standard contains how many units? Can I get it? 2,000.
2,000.
2,000.
So one batch for the loss contains how many units?
100.
100
units. Good. Now, the analysis of the overhead costs provided the following information. Now, overhead, how much are we going to incur on setup costs during this period? Setup costs, how much? 585, 600. Now, what is driving this cost, this setup cost? What is that action driving it? Is what? Cost driver. Number of what?
Number of setup.
Number of setup. So it means this number of setup per batch is related to this number of setups here. Now, special parts handling cost. Special part handling cost. How much are we going to incur on special part handling costs based on the overhead? It's 480,000. Now, what is driving this cost? What is the driver of this cost? Special part handling cost. The driver is what? Number of
special parts.
Number of special parts. Now, the special part we have here is in relation to what? Unit. Number of special parts per unit. So, but the cost driver is what? Number of special parts. Customer invoicing cost. How much are we going to incur? Overhead, 232,000. The cost driver is what? The number of invoices. The number of invoices. You can see number of sales invoices issued per year is what? For standard is 100, for the loss is 480. It means these activities brings about these costs, this invoice cost. So material handling cost. Material handling cost. The allocated amount is what? 504,000. Now, what is the driver of material handling cost? The driver of material handling cost is what?
Number of batches.
Fine. Number of batches. You can easily make a mistake because number of materials issued per batch. What do you see here? Number of yes. Number of materials issued. Number of materials issued. Somebody can make a mistake and come to use what? These two here. These two here. When we begin to solve, you see, you discover what I'm saying. Yes. And other overheads. What is the cost driver? Is labor hours. Labor hours. Labor hours. Now, because you see material handling cost here, you can easily come and match number of separate materials to material handling cost. And that will be an error because the driver is what? Number of batches and not number of separate materials issued. Take note, the cost driver is number of batches. So the question is, for standard, how many batch will you have if you produce 24,000 units? and one batch for standard constitutes how many units? 2,000. So how many batch will you have in standard? Let's brainstorm.
It's 12.
12. Okay.
Yeah.
How did we get 12?
We divide 24,000 by 2,000. 24,000 divided by 2,000.
Yes, so we have
That's
12.
19.
Yes. So let me repeat again. Batch size. One batch constitutes how many units for standard? 2,000. So how many batch will you get in 24,000 units? It will be 24,000 divided by what? 2,000.
By
So it means
2,000.
you have what? 12 batches. 12 batches. For the loss, if one batch constitutes 100 units, how many batch will you have in 24,000 units of the loss?
40.
240.
240.
Fine. 240. 240. So these are the number of batches. These are the number of batches. So let's go straight to the question and see what they want us to do. That's one. Use the traditional approach to determine the direct labor hourly rate for the company. Direct labor hourly rate for the company. Now, I gave a formula in the first class for you to determine overhead absorption rate, right? We gave a formula
Yes.
in the first class. And what is the formula to determine overhead absorption rate? The formula is what?
Total fixed cost divided by the level of activity. In this
Okay.
case, it is a direct labor hour we are going to use.
Okay, fine. We're going to use labor hours. But the total, the budgeted overhead is what? Total overhead is what?
2,665,600.
Yeah, so this is the budgeted overhead. This is the budget. This will be the numerator in that formula. Now, the total labor hours for the two products, because we are to work based on direct labor hourly rate. Now, the labor hour for the two products, direct labor time per unit for standard is what? 4. For the loss is what? 5. So if you are producing 24,000 units, how many hours will you use overall for standard? If you are producing 24,000 units of standard, and for you to produce 1 unit, you need 4 hours. So what will be the total hours to produce 24,000 units?
96,000.
96,000.
Fine, that is 4 multiplied by 24,000. You have 96,000. For the loss, you are using 5 hours to produce 1 unit, and you have 24,000 units to produce. The overall total hours will be what?
120,000.
120,000 hours. Hours. 120,000 hours. So the total hours to produce for standard and deluxe will now be what? 96,000 plus what? 120.
120,000.
So you're going to have what?
216,000.
Fine. So for you to now get the overhead absorption rate, what will you do?
It will be 2,665,600 divided by 216,000.
All right, fine. So that is number one. Let's
It's
go and
about
solve.
12.34.
So let's go and solve it. So I believe everybody have the question, please.
Please, can you refer? Is it possible to forward the question again on the platform?
Let me reshare it.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to show the workings to that question.
Hello, Yene.
I believe everybody have a question now on the platform. The solution.
Yes.
So using the traditional approach, according to the question, using the traditional approach, we have to determine determine the direct
Direct labor hourly rates for the company.
hourly rates for the company. So for us to do this, we have two products, right? We have standard, we have the loss. So for standard, the annual production is what?
24,000.
Annual production in units. We have it as 24,000. But the loss is what? 24,000 likewise. Now, this traditional approach is based on hourly rate, right? We have to determine the hourly rate to provide absorption. So we have to use the direct labor hours. So for you to produce standard, the labor time per unit is what?
4 hours.
Labor time per unit is 4 hours. 4 hours. And for the loss is what? 5 hours.
3 hours.
So the total hours to produce each of these will be what? For standard, it will be 24 multiplied by what? By 4. We have it as what? 96. And for the loss, it will be 24 multiplied by 5. You have it as what?
120,000.
120,000. So the total will give you what?
216,000.
216,000 hours. So now, to determine your overhead absorption rate, what will you do? Overhead absorption rate. Using direct labor hours. What is your formula? Total what?
Total budget.
Overhead. Divide by what?
Total budgeted.
Total
Total volume.
Total budgeted hours. Okay. Labor hour.
Volume.
It depends on what you like. You use it to use labor and thing. Have the difference.
yes, total budgeted hours. You know, this is in case of hours, labor hours. So in this case now, the total budgeted overhead is given as what? The total budgeted overhead in the question.
2,666,000.
2.665.
2,665,000.
600.
600.
Okay, 665, 600. So divide by what?
216. 216.
216,000.
216. So once you do this, the result will be what?
4.34.
12.34. This is the overhead absorption rate, and it is in what? It is in naira. So now, this is the overhead absorption rate based on what? Based on direct labor hour. So if you are to incur 4 hours, how much will you pay based on this approach? What will be the overhead rate attributable to 1 unit? To
That
1
will be
unit.
49 naira.
Okay.
49.
49 naira 36 kobo.
Okay, fine. So if you go to the question, you see the requirement B. The requirement 1 is what? Use the traditional approach to determine the direct labor hourly rate for the company. This is what you've done. The B is now saying that use the direct labor hour rate to compute the overhead rate attributable to a unit, to a unit, to a unit of standard and the loss, of standard and the loss. So now, the B, now the overhead rate attributable to a unit will be what?
For standard, to be 49 naira 36 kobo.
49.36.
So standard standard, then we have the loss. So for standard, we have the time in hours or hours. To produce 1 unit of standard, how many hours do you need?
49.36.
4 hours. To produce
Okay,
the
okay.
loss, how many hours do you need?
4
5
hours.
hours.
5 hours.
5 hours.
What is the rate
12
per
naira
unit?
34
134.
kobo.
12.34 kobo. But the loss is also 12.34. So what will now be the rates? How much are you paying?
49 naira 36 kobo.
You multiply.
For standard.
So let me put multiplication here to avoid confusion. So for this, you have it as what? 49 point what? 36. And for this, you have it as what?
61.7.
16.7.
1.7. Who is not clear, please? Speak out, please. You are not clear at this point. You can speak out. Don't be shy. You can type your message on the chat box. You think you don't want us to hear your voice. All right. So the next thing is we are to determine the cost driver rate using ABC approach, that is activity-based costing approach. We are to determine the cost driver rate, that is that activity that is driving the cost. What is the unit value? What is the what unit value? You have to determine the cost driver rate using activity-based costing. So let's forge ahead now. See, that is C, cost driver rate. Cost driver rates using ABC. Write it clearly using activity-based costing. Using activity-based costing. And now, you look at the question, what are the activities you have? What are the activities? We have setup, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Setup. What is setup? Somebody should even explain this setup. We are just hearing setup. What is setup?
Sir, let me try. Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I suggest that the setup should be the cost that we use to set up a business or a production process.
Very good. Yes. So there can be a situation whereby you need to come up with some preliminary activities before the actual operation commences. So in that instance, those activities can be regarded as setup, the setting up stage. Yes, so those costs associated with that activity, the term as setup costs, so that you not just be thinking is normal words, and you should be able to interpret every word you see in this course. Learn to know the meaning and interpret it in your own way. Is very important. It's very important to aid your understanding. Don't just see a word and overlook it. Yes, interpret every word to your own understanding. So setup. From the question, let's go to the question. We have number of setups per batch. Number of setups per batch. And we have it as 2 for standard, and for the loss is what? Is 6. So now, and we've defined that one batch for standard consists of how many units? 2,000 units. One batch for the loss consists of how many units? 100 units. So now, if we want to know the number of batch for standard, it will be 24,000 divided by 2,000. For the loss, it will be 24,000 divided by 100. Why are we doing this? because the number of setup is based on what? Per batch. Based on what? Per batch. But we are not giving the batch numbers directly. Please, do you get that? We are not
Yes.
giving the batch numbers directly. So we need to know the number of batch for standard, for the loss. And how are we going to know that? In the question, we're giving batch in size. Batch in size or batch size in units. So since we have batch size in units and we have annual production in units for standard, it will be 24 divided by 2000 for standard. For the loss, 24 divided by 100. So for us to know the number of batch, it is based on that we will now know the total number of setup. Since one batch requires two setup for standard, it means once we know the number of batches, 2 multiplied by the number of batch will give us the total setup. For the loss, it will be 6 multiplied by the number of batch will give us the total number of what? Setup. Let's put that down. So setup, we have standard. We have the loss. So now, for standard, we have 24,000 units as the annual production. Now, 2,000 units make up a batch. So how many batch are we going to have in standard?
12,
12 batches.
12 batches.
I'll be writing it small so we'll have 12. But the loss, 24,000 units divided by what? 100. How many batch?
240.
240. So when you go back to the question, it states that number of setup is based on what? Per batch. Based on per batch. So for standard, how many setup do we have per batch? Setup per batch
We
is
have
what?
2 for standard. 2
For the loss is what?
6.
is 6.
So the total number of setup will now be what? Total setup will be what? For standard,
For standard, it will be 24. And for the loss, it will be 1,044.
for the loss, 1,440.
440.
So the total activity here is what? Total setup is what?
It's 1,464. 1,464.
1,464. Fine. So now, the cost driver rate, for one setup will now be what? How much will you pay for one setup? If the total number of setup is this, based on the overhead, how much is allocated for setup from the overhead?
580.
185,600.
Fine. So if you want to know the cost of one setup, what will you do?
We divide it by set
By
of
one
batch. Total set of batch, which is 1,464. Give
So
us
you divide
400.
585,600 by 1,464.
464.
So you have what?
400.
400. So this is what? The cost driver rate. Cost driver rate. Somebody is confused.
Yes.
All right. At what point, man? Yes. At what point?
sir, the way you are, as in, I want to ask this question. The cost driver rate
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the OAR,
Overhead absorption rate.
what's the difference?
Yes. The overhead absorption rate is used in the traditional approach, and instead of allocating the overhead, the total overhead based on each activity, we use labor rate directly to spread the overhead. So overhead absorption rate is used for traditional or conventional approach. Now, this cost driver rate is used under activity-based costing to tell you that if we have total setup to be 2,000 and we've allocated 585,600 for setup, it means that 585,600 is the ceiling, is the budget. You cannot go beyond 585,600. So based on the number of activities you have in relation to setup, how much will accrue to one setup? So if the total setup is 1,464 and the total amount budgeted for setup is 585,600, for one setup, it will be 585,600 divided by 1,464. So OAR has no business with what? ABC.
Cost driver rate.
Yes, OAR is in relation to what? Traditional
Method.
method. For this activity-based costing, we are following the activity one after the other. What are the costs associated with each of those activities? And that is the essence of ABC costing. It is the weakness of traditional approach that brought about this activity-based costing, because it is not normal for you to just spread costs arbitrarily without looking at the activities that cause those costs. So that is why this concept is being brought about. You can see in the first example, the first requirement, we only use labor hours to spread the overhead. The total overhead, we spread it based on the labor hour. But in this case now, we are not doing that. Picking the activities one after the other and trying to justify why the cost is allocated to them.
Thank you, sir.
So the cost driver rate for setup is 400. Any other person that is still confused, you don't know how we arrive at this 400? Hope this is clear. All right, let's forge ahead. Let's move to the next one. The next one is what? The next activity. And the question is what?
Handling.
Special part handling. Special part handling.
Okay, special part handling. Now, in relation to special part handling, what is the cost driver on the question? Special part
Number
handling.
of special parts.
Number of special parts.
Special part.
Now, from the details we have above, number of special parts is based on what?
Per unit.
Fine, per unit. Number of special parts is based on per unit. So what will happen? I need an explanation.
We have to multiply it by the number of units, annual production units, which is 24,000 for standard and 24,000 for deluxe.
All right, fine. So special parts handling. Special part handling. For standard, since it is based on per unit, we relate those values to the overall unit produced. So 24,000 times 2, you're going to have what?
48,000.
For the loss, it will be what? 24,000 multiplied by what? By 8. You have what?
192,000.
192,000. So the total special parts, the total materials incurred in special part handling will now be what? The number of special parts will now be what? Total
240,000.
240,000. 240,000. So based on the overhead breakdown, how much is allocated to special part handling?
480,000.
So 480,000 is the overhead. So for you to get the cost of one special part, what will you do?
We have to divide it by
80 divided by 240.
240.
240.
The result will now be what?
2 naira.
2 naira.
2. Who is not clear? If you run to the Pathfinder and look at the solution, you will just be confused. You just imagine what is happening. Yeah, so I want us to understand it. Yes, understand what is happening. Yes, because when you go to that Pathfinder and check their solution, you can be there for 1 hour and try to determine how they get some figures. So you are in this class, you don't know how we arrive at 400, 200. Raise up your hand. I believe you are writing. As you write, you should know what is not clear to you. Yes, so the next activity is what?
Customer invoicing. Customer invoicing.
Customer invoice. Customer invoices. Now, what is the story about customer invoice? That number of sales invoices issued per year. Number of sales invoices issued per year. It means the overall invoice issued for the whole year for standard is 100, for the loss is 480. So what is the total invoice issued for the whole year?
580.
580. 580. I think this should be direct. This is direct.
Yes.
So for you to know the cost of one invoice, it's just for you to get the overhead apportioned to invoice and divide by the total for the year. Yes. So for standard is 100. For the loss is what? Is 480. The total is what?
580.
So overhead apportioned to invoice is what? From the question.
It's 232,000.
Okay, 232,000. 232,000. So to get the cost of one invoice, what will you do?
We divide it by 580.
And the cost of the driver rate will now be what?
400.
400. Hope this is clear. Hope this is clear. Now, the next activity is what?
Material
handling. What is the story about that? Material handling. From the question, the story that number of separate materials issued per batch. Okay. Now, in the analysis of the overhead, the land said material handling costs is what? 504. What is the cost driver?
Number of batches.
Yes, number of batches. So number of batches is what you have to look out for in this regard. So by the time you go ahead to pick the figures above, you get it wrong. Material handling. Material handling. Now, since the cost driver rate is number of batches, what will happen for standard? What will be here?
12,
12, good. For the loss, it will be what?
240.
Yes, because it's the driver rate. Yes. So overall, the total is what?
252.
252. So the total overhead apportioned to material handling in the question is what?
504,000.
504,000. So to get the value of 1, it will be what? So the result will be what?
2,000.
2,000. 1,000. Any question? Still I heard a sound as if somebody is. All right, what is your question, sir?
Please, I want to know how you arrive at 12 at 240 for the material handling.
Okay, see it up here, sir. At the beginning, we defined that in the question that batch size is 2,000 for standard. So batch size in units is 2,000. So one batch constitutes 2,000 units. So how many batch will you have in 24,000 units for standard? That is where we have 24,000 divided by 2,000. Number of batch will be what?
Okay.
12.
Okay,
But
got
the
it.
law,
Got it. Thank
fine. So now the next activity is what?
Other overheads.
Other overheads. Other overheads. What is the story about other overhead?
Labor hours.
Labor hours.
Labor hours.
Fine. So now, based on standard, what is the total labor hour you will use to produce 24,000 units?
96,000.
So for you to produce 1 unit, you need how many hours? 4.
4 hours.
Multiply by the total units produced. You have what? 96,000 hours. For the loss, to produce 1 unit, you need how many hours? 5. Multiply by how many units? 24,000 units.
120,000 hours.
120,000 hours. The total hours is now how many hours?
216,000.
216 hours.
216,000 hours. So the driver rate for 1 unit or for 1 hour will now be what? How much
4.
allocated to the overhead?
4.
This is what? 8 is 4, right?
Yes.
Divided by what? 216.
216,000.
So the driver rate will be what?
4.
4. Please understand this. If you run through the whole question in the Pathfinder, you discover that this is one of the questions on ABC costing that can be confusing. And that is why I decided to solve this. So by the time we solve this and you practice the one we solved in the last class, then you go ahead to practice the whole activity-based costing. I will take time to forward the question, the whole activity-based costing question in the I can pass question to the platform, because I know some people might find it difficult to still go and pick that past question and search for those ABC costing. I know students. Yes, I did a voice note. Somebody said I should do a voice note on PSAF. I did a voice note. The person is still telling me to go and help look for questions where the things are in the study pack. I said, okay. I just told the person, okay, you have to be intentional too. Yes, you have to be intentional. So I'll do that. I'll forward the whole questions. I'll screenshot them and send to the platform. But I know some people might be very lazy to go and sort for it. So I'll take my time and send them. So you solve those whole questions, you solve them. That is the secret to leave this course and to move to the next stage. So any question about this? So can we move ahead, please?
Yes, please.
All right, fine. So let's the next part of the question says that what? That compute the overhead rate per unit of each product using ABC approach. Compute overhead rates per unit. Overhead rates per unit. Overhead rates per unit. Overhead rates per unit. Okay, fine. Before we show the workings, let's do some brainstorm. Yes, overhead rates per unit. Now, this is the cost driver rate, right? For 1 unit for setup, isn't it? This is the cost driver rate for 1 unit of setup.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
For 1 unit of setup. So, relating these to the total number of setup for the loss, what would be the total rates? If you are incurring 400 units on 1 setup and you have 24 setup for standard, how much will you incur for standard? How much will you incur for standard? For 1 setup, we are to spend a rate of what? 400. Now you have 24 setup. How much will you spend?
9.6.
9,600.
Fine. 9,600 is what you will incur for standard. Now, if you are to incur that for standard, in relation to 1 unit, how much will that be? How much will you allocate to 1 unit under standard? If you have 9,600 as the cost.
Sir, come again, sir, please.
Yes, I'll come again.
Okay, sir.
So this is it. For 1 setup, you have to spend a rate of what? 400, right? Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Irrespective of whether it is standard or the loss. The rate is what? The rate for 1 setup is 400. Fine. Now, under standard, your total setup is what?
24.
24.
24.
So if the rate of 1 setup is 400, what will be the total rate of 24 setup?
9,600.
Fine. 9,600. So how many units did you produce under standard?
24,000.
24,000.
So we want to prorate 9,600 on each of the units. What will now happen? We want to share 9,600 on 24,000 units. How are you going to do that?
This is divided by 24,000 units.
We divide it. 24,000 divided by 9,000.
Yes, 9,600 divided by 24. You have
It will be
0.4.
because it's 24,000 divided by.
So you have 0.4. It means 1 unit. What is attributable to 1 unit in terms of setup? under standard is what? 0.4. I don't know. Is the grammar too much?
Please, sir, can you repeat again? I don't understand.
You have to understand. I want you to understand.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Esther. All right. So now what we're saying is the rate for one setup is how much? How much will you incur? For you to set up a location, how much will you incur?
400.
400.
Fine. For standard, how many setup do you have?
24.
24.
So for you to set up 24 locations, how much will you incur?
9,600.
That is 24 multiplied by 400, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So you now want to spread 9,600 on the total unit produced for standard. What will you do?
Okay, 24,000.
Yeah.
9,600 divided by 24,000.
24,000.
Yes, 9,600 divided by 24,000. We give you the rate, the overhead rate attributable to 1 unit of standard. Let me show the workings so that we will now get it better. So this is D. There are different approaches. I think I will show another approach to get it. Overhead rates attributable. Attributable to a unit. To a unit. See the English, to a unit, to one, not to the overall. To a unit. So that is why we are doing those steps. We are trying to show those steps. To a unit, not to the total 24. If it is 24, we just say 400 times 24,000. We stop there. You understand? But now they are now saying to a unit. To a unit. So now we have standard. We have the loss. We have standard. We have the loss. Now the first activity is setup. 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 The rate, the cost driver rate derived is what? It's 400. Computed is 400. The cost driver rate computed is what? Is 400. So now 400 multiplied by the number of setup for standard will give us what? 9,600. Will give us 9,600. Now, for the loss, it will be what? 400 multiplied by what? How many setup do we have for the loss?
440.
1,440. You give you a total of what?
576,000.
576,000.
You give you a total of 576,000. 576,000 plus 96. Okay, 585 is 100. Okay. Some, the total overhead for setup is what? The total overhead for setup is what? The total overhead for setup.
585,600.
5,600.
Yes, 585, 600. Fine. 585, 600. 585, 600. Let me do something. 24 divided by 1464. Multiply by 585, 600. Okay. All right. So let me go this way because I'm trying to get the per unit. So once you do this, what will be the setup cost per unit for standard? The setup cost per unit for standard. How many units do we have? Do we produce?
4,000.
So it will be 9,600 divided by what? 24,000. So the setup cost will now be what?
0.4.
For 1 unit, 0.4. For the loss, the setup cost for 1 unit will be what? 576,000 divided by what? 24,000 units. We have it as what?
Twenty-four.
Okay, 24. We have it as 24. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
There's another way I used to solve it. I'm just trying to come up with that approach. But let's keep going. Then we have the next is what? Special part handling. Special parts handling. Special part handling. On the question, the rate, the cost driver rate of 1 special part is what? From our solution is 2. 2 is 2. So in relation to standard, how many special parts do we have?
48,000.
48,000. In relation to the loss, how many special parts do we have?
192,000.
So if you are spending 2 naira on 1 special part and you have 48,000 special parts, spend on 48,000 special parts. 2 multiplied by what? 48. This rate is the amount, is the cost. What you have here is the number. This is number. This is not money. So if you are spending 2 naira on 1 unit of special parts handling, how much will you spend on 48,000 parts?
96,000.
96,000.
Same for the loss. If you are spending 2 naira on 1 unit, how much will you spend on 192,000 parts?
384,000.
So 2 multiplied by what? 48,000. Here we have 96,000. Divide by the number of units produced for us to get the value of 1, that is 24,000 units. The value of 1 will be what? The value of 1 is
Before.
will be 4 on there. And for this, it will be 2 multiplied by what?
16.
192,000 equal to what? 384,000 divide by what? 24. The result will be what?
16.
16. These are the overhead rates per unit. Per unit. The next is what? Customer
Costs.
invoicing cost. Customer invoicing. Customer invoicing costs. Now, the cost for one invoice is what? So invoice 1 is what?
100.
400.
400. It's 400. How many invoices did we dispatch for standard?
100.
And for the loss, 480.
Sorry.
So what will be the cost? Overall cost for standard, 400.
It will be 100 multiplied by 400.
We have what here?
40,000.
40,000.
So for 1 unit, it will be what? Divide by what?
By 24,000.
By 24. So this will be 1 point what?
1.67.
7.
1.6.
1.67.
And for this, it will be what? 400 multiplied by what?
480.
Multiplied by 480.
480. So we have it as what?
192.
192,000 divided by units.
24,000.
The answer is 8.
8.
8.
The next is what? Material
Handling.
Handling.
2,000. 250.
material is 2,000, right? So
Yes.
we have it. Material handling cost. We have it as what? Cost for 1 is 2,000. How many do we have for standard? 12. You have it as what?
24,000.
Divide by what?
By
24.
24,000. The answer is 19.
And for this, it will be what? 2,000 multiplied by how many materials? 100, 240.
240.
240.
Have it as what? 480. Divide by what? 24. You have a result of what?
20.
29.
20. 20. So the next is what?
Other overheads.
Other overheads. Other overheads. Other overheads. Let's see. Now, the driver rate for 1 hour is what?
400.
4 naira. 4 naira. How many hours do we have for standard
96,000.
hours? And for the loss, 120,000 hours. So other overheads. So it will be in what form? It will be 4, right? Multiply by what?
Now it's 96,000.
96,000 hours The result will be what?
384,000.
384,000 divided by what? 24,000. For 1 unit, the result will be what?
16 naira.
16. Then for the loss, it will be 4 multiplied by how many hours? 120,000 hours, right? The result will be what here?
48.
Divided by 24. The result will be what?
20.
The result will be 20. So these are the overhead rates attributable to a unit. So this is, I can say this is a standard cost card for 1 unit. Standard cost card for 1 unit. You know, when you talk about standard cost card, it's showing the cost to produce a unit of a product. So now, if you are now asked, what is the total cost for standard? So each of these values of we derive here, when you add them together, it give you the total cost to produce 1 unit. It give you the total cost. Give you the total cost. That is, for this point, we have 0.4 plus 4 plus 1.67 plus 1 plus 16. You have a total here. For the loss, you said?
23.07.
23.07. And for the loss, it will be what? 24 plus 16 plus 8 plus 20 plus 20.
88.
88. So this is what the question wants you to do. For those that sat for May 2025, something like this came out. November 2024, something like this was tested. November 2022, question 2, something like this was tested. Then, to crown it up, please, I'm serious about everybody solving the questions. Let me change my slide so you see it. Let me represent something else. So this is what the question, but before I go ahead, any question about this? My plea is, before you go ahead to solve any question, solve this question again. Solve it again.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
You said there's another way you want to solve it. You have not done it.
Yeah. That way. Let me see now. The other way is I'm trying to see the ratio, trying to apportion the ratio. Let me see that. Let me use my calculator. Okay, the other way is this. You know, the overhead for setup is what? Given to you in the question. The total overhead for setup.
400. 585,600.
Yes, 585,600. 585,600. So now, the other way you can solve it is the total setup is what? 24,024 plus 1,440. We give you what? 1464. Let me show it. The other way is this. The total setup you have is what? For both for standard and the loss is 1,464, isn't it?
Yes.
So now I can use the ratio approach to get the overhead cost for standard. The value will be what? I can say 24 divided by what? 1 24 divided by 1464 multiply by what? The total overhead. What is the value?
585,600.
585,600. The result will be what?
9,600.
9,600. Divide by 24. You understand? It's still same approach.
I think this is better. This is
That's
more
400.
understandable than the first one.
So
And what did you say? Oh?
9,600 divided by. So this is better, right?
Yes, sir.
That this approach is preferable.
It's preferable.
So this is for standard. Then you can now do for deluxe too.
Deluxe.
You now say 400 divided by what? 1464
400.
multiply by what? 585,600. You understand?
So I don't understand this approach.
160,000.
Yes. So I don't understand the approach you are doing. Can you please come again? I'm sorry.
No, this is it. The approach is the
6.7.
totals.
The 400,
6.7.
400 is 144, 1440.
You said it will give us what? Before I go back to.
So far, we are using ratio, sir. Well done, sir.
Yes.
I said that 400 should be 1440.
Okay, yes, it will be 1440.
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody should compute this for me. Let me get the result. This.
Which one is 1140? 6.7.
Please compute this. Multiply this and 100 divided by 1464. Multiply by 585,600. You have it as what? Okay, sorry. This one is 1440, not 400. So when you compute, you get what? Divided by 1464. Multiply by 585.
Slap you.
600. So you have it as 57.
6,000. 576,000.
576,000. Understand? So when you divide this by 24,000 units,
24.
you still have what? 24.
24.
24.
Yes. So depend on the approach you want to use.
I
Yes.
think this approach is better.
But the point is, any approach you stick to, solve it and use it over and over again. So that when exam come and you've overread and you are now feeling feverish, that residual knowledge will be with you.
We work
I don't
for
want
you.
this diet. I don't want. I went to the hall. I was shaking. So that is why I want to treat these major topics so that you go and solve till you are tired of solving. Yes? Question, Esther?
So just for the first method, how do we get 23.07 at the end?
How did we get 23.07?
Yes, sir. And
0.4 plus 4 plus 1.6 plus 1 plus 16.
0.4 and 0.4. Okay. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
Anna.
Thank you, sir. Sir, please, I would like you to proclaim. I did not get the B part of this question. How you solved it? I was lost.
The B part.
Yes, sir.
So we should go up, right?
Yes, sir.
That is this B part.
Yes.
Okay. The overhead absorption rate for 1 hour is what? I believe you understand this, how we derive this, right? Did you get this, how we arrive at this? 12 naira, 34 kobo.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
No.
Yes.
Fine. So now, this is based on labor hours, the rate of 1 hour. The question is, how many hours will you use to produce 1 unit of standard? Can you tell me? How many hours do you need to produce 1 unit of standard? I want the answer from you. How many hours?
4 hours.
So the question is, this solution is telling you that if you are using 4 hours, the rate for 1 hour, you pay for 1 hour is what? 12 naira, 34 kobo. So based on standard, how much will you pay if you are using 4 hours? That
It
is,
will be 4 times 12.34.
and that is how you have to produce 1 unit of standard, you incur a rate of what? 49.36 kobo. And for the loss, you use how many hours? 5 hours. This is the rate per unit. So 5 multiplied by 12.34, rate per hour rather. 5 multiplied by 12.34, you have what? 61.7. So overhead rate attributable to a unit cost based on hours. I don't know if this is clear.
Very clear, sir.
So any other concern? All right. So now let me change my presentation. Let's go to the Pathfinder. Let's go to the Pathfinder. Okay, fine. So now, November 2024. Let me do a quick search. November 2024. It will come very fast. November 2024. Okay, fine. November 2024. Do you see this? Okay, then. Do you see this question?
That question about.
This question is Baba.
Same, just did you.
It's the same thing that we've done. So I want you to go and solve this.
Okay, sir.
You go and solve this.
Sir,
Then,
November what, sir?
November 2024. Question
Okay.
2. This is one. Oh. Screenshot it. Maybe I will not take my time to send any question again. Screenshot this one or write it down and go and look for it.
Okay.
Then let's check another one.
Sir, November what?
November 2024, question 2. See it, November 2024, question 2. See, Somebody that have practiced that question and see this one, you just be smiling in the corner. You will not say I can is wicked again. Say you love I can. The point is, the examiners want you to pass. It's just the level of preparation that matters. So, I'm a teacher who I will not set questions that will fail now. But only that they don't want the standard to be very low. Yes. It is when you become chartered, then you now appreciate the whole thing. So if it is too cheap, even you too, you will not want to come and write the exams. Because you know it's what you can just get on a platter of good. So May 2025, let's see. Okay, it's not even far like that. May 2025 is just last year. So okay, it's not here. I don't have it here. I don't have it here. But I'll send a document where you can access it. I'll send a document where you can access it. So November 2022. November 2022. Let's check that one. November 2022. Our next topic will be limiting factor. So before then, you should have solved the whole question on activity-based costing. November 2022, question 2. Yes, see this question again. See this question. So you should be able to attempt it. Attempt it. So this one is not having 2 products, but 3 products. So that when you see 4 products, you will not say these people have come again. So practice this. This is November 2022.
Okay. Question 2.
Question 2. I don't want to hear these people have come again. So this is it. Go and read it. Solve it. But before you solve it, practice the one we've solved this evening so that the understanding will rest with you. Yes. And picture how you can solve it in diverse ways. One thing with performance management is as you read the question, you can discover better ways you can solve it yourself. Yes. Aside the approach I've used. Yes. If you sit down again, you'll discover better ways you can come up with your own solution, and it will still be same with what the examiner wants. Yes. So, but that understanding will come on how well you marry your book. Yes, you marry your book. So please, I'll be expecting solutions to these questions from tomorrow. Yes, from tomorrow.
How many assignments to get an answer? 2 or 3?
If I'm to count the assignment, it's up to 5. But most of you have not even solved. Most of you have not solved the ones we sent before. So, but try and solve them. Try and solve them. It's for your own good. Try and solve them, so that at least you can teach someone. Yes, it's very good. I know some of you will say no, you don't want to teach, but it's good.
Will you forward the assignment you just gave us now to the platform?
Somebody will help me forward it.
He said he does not want to forward that yesterday, actually.
See, I have I'm looking at my phone now. I have like close to 100 chats that will respond to one after the other.
Okay.
Then I'll still need to go and look for what I'll eat. So that is how it works. So I'm seeing 100 chats that will respond to one after the other. So somebody will help me forward the assignment. Then I will send the slide. The one we just solved now. I will forward the slide to us on the platform. But please, I'm begging, solve those assignment questions. They are very important. Questions will come. They will come. So I want you to solve those questions comfortably when you see them in the hall. Yes, you relax and cross your legs. Solve it. Yes. So we'll meet on Tuesday. I will send the timetable to the platform. We'll meet on Tuesday. We start with